What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series Obi-Wan Kenobi from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The Revenge of the Sith appearance for Obi-Wan Kenobi was probably one of the most overdue redos in the Black Series line, right up there with the likes of like General Grievous and Slave Leia. I think that this is one of those that desperately needed redone for the Black Series, and I'm so happy that they redid it here in 2025, where I'm really enjoying the consistent quality of Black Series figures. Essentially, this is the same exact figure that was included with the San Diego Comic-Con 2025 exclusive set with the Mustafar duel of Obi-Wan and Anakin. He just comes with less accessories, but it is the same base figure. I picked this guy up on a pre-order through Big Bad Toy Store. That's the place that I go to for most of my action figure orders and pre-orders. Great service, great smaller business to support here in the United States. I love their pile of loot feature too, so make sure to check them out. Obi-Wan is a mainline release for the Black Series here in 2025, meaning you'll find him at most of your major retailers, and he does come in the standard packaging for the Black Series in this year. So we have on the front of the box the Black Series logo, your big plastic window showing you the figure, and his accessory here. Over here you have the character name in vertical text, as well as that he is number 4 in the Revenge of the Sith subline. Down below the window, we have in that kind of like orangey brown color, the color that represents the Revenge of the Sith subline, and of course we have the movie name, and then down here some of your logos and legalese. On this side of the box, we have our mural art here, so you can see Mustafar in the back. I actually love that, the mining facility that you can see in the back where they begin the battle of the heroes in the movie, so you can see Obi-Wan in a great pose. I love his sleeves underneath his Jedi robes. That was a weird detail I always loved about Obi-Wan in this particular costume. You have your character name down at the bottom there. On the back of the box, a lot of the same stuff we saw on the other sides of the packaging here, like the Black Series logo, that same mural image we saw on the side of the box blown up a bit, our character name, and then a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, Obi-Wan is forced to battle his friend Anakin Skywalker in a devastating lightsaber duel after Anakin turns to the dark side. We reiterate, he is number 4 in the Revenge of the Sith subline. Down here we have all our legalese. Guys, please don't feed this action figure to your babies. On this side of the box, we have our wraparound window, some of that wraparound banner, and our Black Series logo. On the bottom of the box, even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging, so let's get this guy opened and we'll check him out. Alright guys, here's Obi-Wan out of the box. Before we take a look at the figure, let's of course take a look at the one accessory he comes with, and that being his signature lightsaber. Now, interesting thing about the hilt, they do seem to have missed a paint hit of silver right here at the emitter. That's a pretty iconic detail with Obi-Wan's lightsaber, so I will say that's a little bit of a miss, but aside from that, all the other details look pretty accurate. It's on a base black sculpt with some silver and gold paint applications. They did also include a peg here that's sculpted in so that you can attach this to his belt. We'll check that out later. And then you have a nice deep blue translucent color for the lightsaber blade. I much prefer these deeper, more vibrant colors for the lightsaber blades rather than the paler colors. These just look a lot better on the shelf. Of course, like with most Black Series lightsabers, this does remove with a peg, and this is what those look like separated. Now, with that aside, let's take a look at Obi-Wan Kenobi here. So if you saw my review of the San Diego Comic-Con set, then you've already pretty much seen this figure. Obi-Wan is my favorite Jedi of all time, so I think for me this is still a really exciting release to get. This particular version is going to go on my Clone Wars display rather than my Revenge of the Sith display. So we'll just kick things off. We'll look at the likeness on this figure. This is a pretty damn good Ewan McGregor likeness here. I think they got the eyes very nice, the eyebrows look good, all the paint apps on mine are very centered as well. They look really nice. The beard and the mustache are painted very nicely as well. They seem to have a little more painted detail in the facial hair area around the goatee, and that just adds a lot more depth to the character, especially when you're looking at him head on. The hair is sculpted nicely. I don't really see any kind of wash or anything like that, but I think the way that it's sculpted, it catches the light pretty nicely. Overall, this is a really nice Obi-Wan portrait, and I think Ewan McGregor is one that they've kind of always nailed in the Black Series line. Aside from that, the Jedi robe look in the prequel trilogy is a pretty basic one. We have the nice dark brown paint for the kind of layer underneath the outer tunics here. And other than that, I mean, there's no wash, there's no detailing, and I mean, you know what? Considering most of the movie, his Jedi robes are completely clean, especially in like the scenes on the Jedi Temple, I think this is absolutely acceptable. The outer tunic here is all one kind of rubbery plastic overlay, so in theory, this should move itself out of the way and allow us to still get some more dynamic posing with the lightsaber. Interestingly enough, his right hand seems to be sculpted with a trigger finger of sorts. I think that's a little interesting, and then you have much more of a C-gripping hand in that left hand. I'm not a huge fan of the trigger finger sculpted hands for lightsaber wielding characters, just a little bit of an odd choice to me. As for Obi-Wan's belt though, that's where we get a lot of painted detail on top of the nice sculpt in that nice, very dark brown here. You do have the buckle, which is painted. These little cartridges right here are painted in silver, and then almost like more of a brass color there. And then you have some more of those sculpted pouches that are all painted in that same dark brown color that go all the way around the belt here. And then you have the belt and the lower part of the outer tunic are all its own overlay as well. So this is a separate piece from what you have up here at the upper part of the tunic, and you can see that the part at the belt does have its own little rubbery piece here. The tunic underneath splits into two pieces in the front and one piece in the back. This is very, very malleable, so in theory, we should still be able to get some nice, natural-looking, dynamic poses with Obi-Wan. And then, of course, at the pants, it's very, very plain. We just have some basic sculpt work for the pants, which is completely fine, especially considering they're mostly covered up. And then at the boots, we also have a nice, clean look. Obi-Wan has a very nice color to his boots in Revenge of the Sith, and I think they got it pretty accurately here. Just basic detailing, nothing really to look at here, aside from just the basic sculpted detail. Like I said, a pretty plain figure overall, but it is accurate to how he looks in the entire movie, so I don't really see an issue with it. I do wish, however, they would have painted the emitter on that lightsaber hilt. So taking a look at Obi-Wan's articulation real quick here, we do have a barbell jointed neck. So you have a barbell joint that goes up into the head, and then another ball joint at the base of the neck. That's going to get you some pretty nice range of motion here, even with the collar that kind of goes up behind the back of his neck here. So he can look down quite a bit, and he can also look up a really good amount as well. This is actually a really good amount of up for Black Series figures. You do have some good tilt for some attitude, of course, and you have that right and your left. Underneath the overlay for the outer tunic here, there is a butterfly joint in the torso there, and that's going to get you some pretty nice forward and back. Actually, some really impressive forward and back, especially considering how far this falls over the shoulder here. We do also have a hinge and swivel at the shoulder, so you're going to be able to get that up to about 90 degrees, even with that overlay reaching over the shoulder joint there. And then you do have a swivel, and you can see that that does move itself out of the way to get you the full 360 degrees of motion. We do also have some deep cut single jointed elbows here. Those get you to about that 90 degree mark, maybe just a hair more, and they do also have a swivel at the top of the elbow there. What's really cool about this Obi-Wan figure is that his forearms, that you can see in the flesh tone there, which those are technically supposed to be that brown color of this, you know, under tunic here, but these do have their own little joints. So they have a ball joint that goes into the forearm, and then a different little ball joint that goes into these roly-poly wrists. We'll get into those in a second, but as you can see, this offers like some extra movement here in a circular motion, and it really is going to help, especially him having these baggy sleeves. It's going to really help us get some more articulation out of those arms with the lightsaber in hand. And then, as I mentioned before, Obi-Wan does also have roly-poly wrists, or the ball jointed wrists as they're called, and you can get some extra motion out of those too. So you can really, as you can see, move the arm inside of that sleeve there and get some nice movement. Then of course he does have a ball joint at the waist here, and even with all the overlays at the waist and on the torso, you can still get some really nice range out of that. That's pretty crucial for a Jedi figure. The more articulation, the better with a character like this. Obi-Wan does have a ball joint at the hips, which is going to get you some decent movement as well. As you can see with the overlay there, you can still get some decent movement out of that. They seem to move themselves out of the way. They did omit the thigh swivel cut. That seems to be a thing they're doing on these newer figures. However, they are replacing it with a modified hip joint, which can still get you some decent in and out at that hip there. So replacing the thigh swivel, I think it's fine when they actually have decent range of motion at that hip. We also have a deep cut single jointed knee. That's going to get you to about that 90 degree mark, and then it does also feature a swivel at the top there. Where we do lack thigh thigh swivel, we do have boot swivel. So boot swivel is a very, very great addition to the articulation scheme. I would even go as far as to say that boot swivel is more important than thigh swivel, because if you bring the leg out, it's more important that you can have the toes facing out. I'd rather have that than just the whole leg and then have a stiffness at the bottom of the leg here. I think it just makes for a more natural look having that boot swivel. And then of course at the ankles, we have the Hasbro Classic, the forward facing pin for rocker, and a hinge which gets you just a little bit of forward, not terribly much, but we do have plenty of back on that ankle rocker as well. So overall, this is a pretty standard articulation scheme for Black Series here in 2025, and it's a good one. I am a big fan of the current state of the Black Series articulation. So we'll get Obi-Wan kitted out with his accessories here. So obviously first, let's just show off the lightsaber hilt on the belt. So there is a little peg hole here on the left side of the belt, and that is corresponding with the peg on the lightsaber hilt there. This is a very good fit. So as you can see, it passes the shake test. If you bump it, it's not even going to fall out, which is really good. You can even tilt it and move it different ways if you have them in some kind of moving pose, or if you have them sitting on a boga, you could even push it forward or back to assist in that sitting pose. So with the lightsaber on the belt, I would say this is a very good look for the figure. But of course, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, so we're going to have him with lightsaber in hand, connecting the blade back into the hilt there. It's a pretty taut connection. You shouldn't have an issue with this falling out of the hilt. And then of course, Obi-Wan being a Jedi, most Jedi cross-draw their lightsabers, so Obi-Wan is a right-handed Jedi, and the fingers are pretty malleable. You can pretty easily move them to help you get the accessory into the hand, and we have a nice firm grip on the lightsaber. It passes the shake test no problem. Here's a basic ready stance for Obi-Wan here, and this is just a really nice idle pose for the character, and I think he looks really natural. Of course, this being Obi-Wan, we want to get him into his iconic ready stance for when he battles General Grievous in the movie. However, he does lack the swappable hand option with that little peace sign. I feel like that would be a pretty necessary inclusion for this character, but then again, I don't really see how they would get much reuse out of it. Either way, I think it would be a good inclusion to have that swappable hand for this particular character. Here's Obi-Wan in a really nice, low, two-handed lightsaber holding pose. The butterfly joints work great, and the overlay moves itself out of the way very easily. You don't have to worry too much about this thing getting in the way, but I will say this is a great look for this figure. Here's Obi-Wan in a decent-looking one-legged running pose here. This is his running animation from Battlefront 2, so I really love that I can get him into a pose like that from one of my favorite Star Wars video games, and he has a great center of gravity. And just to pair him up for some size comparisons with some other characters here, on the left I have the new Clone Commander Cody that came out this year. That looks great side by side with Obi-Wan. And then on the right, this is the Anakin from the San Diego Comic-Con set. So these guys scale really nicely together. Again, this is the exact same Obi-Wan as you got in that San Diego Comic-Con set, just with less accessories. And just for comparison's sake, on the left here next to our new Obi-Wan, I do have the Archive Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is on the previous body sculpt for the Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi, and man, the difference here is just night and day. This newer figure looks so much better, and I'm so impressed with it. But with that, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this review. This is a huge upgrade over the previous Obi-Wan Kenobi in this look for the Black Series, and he's absolutely worth picking up. This portrait on him looks amazing for the face. The figure itself poses so nicely, and you can get him into all kinds of poses that you could not achieve with that previous Obi-Wan Kenobi. But with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on the channel, or you just want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, it gives you access to all my reviews early, you get exclusive badges and priority replies in my comment section, and you get to vote on what I review next for the channel. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 4-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?